In the remote village of Black Hollow, nestled deep within a dense forest, there was a legend whispered among the locals, a tale of a witch who lived in the woods, offering bargains to those desperate enough to seek her out. The witch, they said, was as old as the forest itself, with eyes like glowing embers and a voice that could turn your blood to ice. The villagers rarely spoke of her openly, but when they did, it was with fear and reverence. Her name was Lysandra, and it was said that she could grant any wish for a price. But those who dealt with her often paid more than they bargained for. One crisp autumn evening, a young woman named Eliza ventured into the woods. Her father had fallen gravely ill, and the village healer had done all she could, but it wasn't enough. Desperate and with nowhere else to turn, Eliza decided to seek out the witch, despite the warnings she had heard all her life. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows through the twisted trees, Eliza followed the narrow path that led deeper into the forest. The air grew colder, and the silence was broken only by the crunch of leaves beneath her feet. She clutched a small pouch of coins, the only offering she had, hoping it would be enough to buy her father's life. After what felt like hours, Eliza arrived at a clearing where the trees seemed to bend away, forming a natural circle around a small crooked cottage. Smoke billowed from the chimney, and the scent of burning herbs hung in the air. She hesitated at the edge of the clearing, her heart pounding in her chest. Gathering her courage, Eliza stepped forward and knocked on the door. The sound echoed through the stillness, and for a moment she feared no one would answer. But then, the door creaked open, revealing a tall, thin woman with long, silver hair that flowed like a river of moonlight. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and her eyes, glowing with an unnatural light, bore into Eliza's very soul. "You seek Lysandra," the woman said, her voice smooth and cold like the surface of a frozen lake. Eliza nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. "My father is dying. Please, I'll do anything to save him." The witch's lips curled into a faint smile. "Anything, you say? Very well, child. Come inside." Eliza followed Lysandra into the cottage, which was dimly lit by candles and filled with strange, shadowy objects. Herbs hung from the ceiling, jars of odd substances lined the shelves, and a cauldron bubbled quietly in the corner. The air was thick with the scent of earth and decay. Lysandra gestured to a small wooden table in the center of the room. "Sit," she commanded, and Eliza obeyed, placing her pouch of coins on the table. The witch glanced at the offering, her smile widening. "Money is of little use to me, but I accept your desperation. I will save your father, but in return, you must give me something of equal value." Eliza felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you want?" Lysandra leaned closer, her eyes burning with intensity. "A year of your life. For every year your father gains, you will lose one. Do you accept?" Eliza hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She loved her father more than anything, and she couldn't bear the thought of losing him. But the cost, her own life, was almost too much to bear. After a long moment, Eliza nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "I accept." Lysandra's smile grew wider, revealing sharp, pointed teeth. She extended her hand, and Eliza took it, feeling a cold, electric shock course through her body. The witch muttered an incantation under her breath, and the room seemed to darken as shadows danced around them. When the ritual was complete, Lysandra released Eliza's hand, and the light returned to the room. The witch's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "It is done. Your father will recover, but remember, child, every year he lives from this day forward will be taken from you." Eliza thanked the witch and hurried out of the cottage, eager to return to her father's side. As she ran through the forest, the air seemed lighter, the oppressive weight of the witch's presence lifting with each step. When Eliza reached her village, she found her father already recovering, his strength returning as if by magic. The villagers were astonished, but Eliza kept her bargain with Lysandra a secret, fearing the judgment of those who would surely call her a fool for making such a deal. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Her father grew stronger with each passing day, and Eliza was overjoyed to see him regain his old vitality. But as the year wore on, she began to notice subtle changes in herself. She tired more easily, her hair lost its luster, and dark circles appeared under her eyes. It was as if the life was being drained out of her, little by little. When the first anniversary of her visit to the witch approached, Eliza's condition had worsened. She looked older, more haggard, as though she had aged a decade in a single year. But her father was healthier than ever, and that gave her some comfort, even as she felt her own strength fading. On the night of the anniversary, Eliza awoke to a terrible pain in her chest. It felt as though her very heart was being squeezed by an invisible hand. She struggled to breathe, gasping for air as her vision blurred. And then she saw her. Lysandra stood at the foot of her bed, her eyes glowing in the darkness. "The first year has come," the witch whispered, her voice soft but filled with a dark, malevolent glee. "1 year of your life, as promised." Eliza tried to speak, but no words came. The pain intensified, and she felt her life slipping away, like sand through her fingers. Lysandra leaned closer, her cold breath on Eliza's face. "Do not weep, child. Your sacrifice was not in vain. Your father will live for many more years thanks to you. But remember, every year he gains, you will lose." With that, the witch vanished, leaving Eliza alone in the dark, gasping for breath. As the night wore on, the pain slowly subsided, but Eliza knew the truth. Her time was running out. She had made a terrible bargain, and there was no escaping the price she had to pay. Over the next few years, Eliza watched as her father thrived, growing stronger and healthier, while she withered away. Her youth faded, her body weakened, and her spirit dimmed, as if the life was being drained from her, year by year. By the time her father realized the truth, it was too late. Eliza was a shadow of her former self, a woman aged far beyond her years. The villagers whispered of her, calling her cursed, but they never guessed the true nature of the witch's bargain. One cold winter night, Eliza breathed her last, her life finally spent. Her father wept over her body, his heart heavy with guilt and sorrow. He had gained years, but at the cost of his daughter's life. As for Lysandra, she remained in her cottage, waiting patiently for the next desperate soul to seek her out, ready to offer another bargain. For she knew that in the hearts of men, there would always be those willing to pay any price to cheat death, no matter the cost. And so, the legend of the Witch of Black Hollow lived on, a tale of caution and fear, passed down through the generations. For those who heard it knew that bargains with the dark come with a price far greater than gold.